Assalamu alaikum everyone, and welcome to the Muslim Game Changers podcast, where we bring you inspiring stories from the best and brightest of the Muslim world. I'm your Hussein, and I'm very excited to take you on a journey of discovery featuring high-profile Muslim leaders from all around the globe. Welcome back to the Muslim Game Changer podcast, everyone. Our guest today is Ibrahim Zulfiqar, a healthcare and life sciences consultant at IBM. Known for his exceptional project management skills, he leads and coordinates multiple teams to achieve top-notch results. His proudest achievement so far, enhancing prayer and reflection rooms across his company in the UK and worldwide with the help of his colleagues. His motto, dreams without goals are just dreams. Ibrahim is a dynamic community leader and his thoughts are lightning fast. I think you will see that. Stay tuned to hear his inspiring insight, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum, Ibrahim. How are you doing today?
Wa alaikum salam, bro. That was the best introduction I've probably ever had in my life. Appreciate that.
I think the audience is going to love you a lot. You have an amazing energy. Can you tell us where were you born and what has been the journey to where you are currently based right now?
No, I appreciate that, brother. So I was born in the UK. My family are Pakistani originally, but it was actually my grandparents who came to the country, so I think I'm second gen. But I was born in the nice, quiet city of Manchester, up north in the UK. So yeah, grew up there, grew up in Manchester, but I have quite a deep connection with London as well because my whole mum's side of the family lives in London. Mm-hmm. So grew up in Manchester, went to university in Leeds, and then now, alhamdulillah, through work and everything, I'm actually working in London.
Very good. Can you tell us how has been your transition, like from Manchester to London? It's the first time I'm having someone from Manchester in the podcast, so really happy about it. Can you tell us, like, what notable differences can you observe, like, between the vibe in Manchester, the one in London, and also being a Muslim in both these cities?
Honestly, I love this question just because for me, Manchester is always going to be home. I think especially when I'm surrounded by Londoners, when I'm at work in London, I really miss home quite a bit. You're exactly right. It's completely different vibes. So I think with London, it's very busy. You're in a rat race. Everyone's running around at 100 miles per hour. Whereas in Manchester, things are a lot calmer. Like, things are still busy, don't get me wrong, but it's just at a completely different pace of life. And I think for me, like, I really appreciate that. Like, I enjoy my time in both places. I spend the majority of my time in London at the moment, but I do like kind of like 3 weeks in London, then a week in Manchester. And I think when I'm in London, I know I'm here to work. I'm here to put my head down. I'm here to work really hard. Whereas when I'm in Manchester, I'm still working, but it's a lot more chilled out. The vibe's a lot different. People, I'll be honest, the people are a lot nicer in Manchester. Not saying that the people aren't nice in London, but Manchester is definitely manners and everything is definitely a lot different there.
Yeah.
But no, it's really good, and I think alhamdulillah, I'm very blessed in the fact that both places where I've spent a decent amount of my time growing up, London and Manchester, have very good and very big Muslim populations. The communities in both places, to be honest, are incredible. So many kind of like Muslim brothers and sisters, and especially like Pakistanis and kind of others as well.
In Manchester?
In Manchester and London, to be honest, brother.
Wow.
But alhamdulillah, I've got a family in both, so I've got a really good kind of base between family and friends, and I like to travel between the two a lot. It's very interesting. I think the changing in dynamics, so like going from Manchester to London, London to Manchester, it definitely mixes things up every month.
This is brilliant, and if I could go out in the street with a t-shirt, I love the UK, I would, because I think it's a secret for nobody in the audience. It's been a few episodes already published. I love the UK. It's so diverse. So diverse. It's not concentrated. For instance, Paris, it's really diverse in one area and then it's pretty wide elsewhere. Here, it's really diverse everywhere and people are very open-minded everywhere. I love the vibe. It's amazing. But can I ask you a question? I want to know. Sometimes we move to big cities to make it in the corporate world, and then we tell ourselves, I just want to do this like 10 years. Sometimes people, when they approach their 30s, 40s, they tell themselves, I'm going to work in a big company, close good salary, and then I will return to where I came originating from. I wanted to ask this. Do you see yourself now that you've been through this transition? Do you see yourself more like evolving in London? Now you cannot go without London. Or do you tell yourself that actually Manchester could be a good option for the future or any other city?
I mean, to be completely honest, bro, I love London. Like I've got, like I said, I've got family, friends here, and I've been here for about 2-3 years now. So, and then obviously growing up, came here quite a bit in the holidays. So I know London very well, and I just know that it's just so expensive and it's very like, alhamdulillah, it's a great place to live, it's a great place to work, but it's not very sustainable unless you kind of have like family and stuff like that here. Like, to be honest, just telling people out there, a lot of my friends are paying like a grand plus a month on rent. And like, for example, if you're getting to like a grand and a half a month, it doesn't give you much to live off after that. And I think for
Oh my
me,
God.
my priority has always been, looking after myself and my family. And I think, inshallah, in the next few years, I want to settle down. I want to have family, and I want to start caring for someone and caring for people. And I know, even though London is great for work and everything, for me, Manchester is always going to be home, and it's a lot more kind of affordable out there, and there's still very good job prospects and everything. So my plan anyway at the moment is continue to kind of work in London, build up my skills, build up my experiences, build up my network, and then inshallah, kind of in the next couple of years, transition back to Manchester. But still, like, I would always have a connection with London. Like, I think my ideal scenario would be something where I'd be based in Manchester, my family and everything would be in Manchester, but I'd still come down to London, let's say kind of like once a month, in meetings to meet my clients, stuff like that. Alhamdulillah, I think Manchester is definitely, compared to where it was 5, 10 years ago, in the business sense, in kind of corporate sense and everything, is definitely very much up and coming. And there's a lot more going on in Manchester than there used to be. So I think, inshallah, by the time I'm ready to kind of transition back, there'll definitely be opportunities there for me to do so. So at the moment, yeah, just seeing how it goes. But the plan is, inshallah, long term, be back in Manchester, but always to have a little bit of a connection down south too.
Inshallah. Is there a high-speed train between Manchester and London?
So the train is there at the moment. It's a couple, I think it's about a couple hours on the train, but they have been trying to build this whole HS2 network for like, I don't know how long, man. So I think at some point they will. But to be honest, well, like, I actually, since COVID, I've been put off the whole public transport and train routes and everything. And it's also just got so much more expensive, man. Like, when I was on placement year in, what was it, like 2019, I used to get the train from London to Manchester like every few weeks, and that would cost me £60. Now, like, I'm speaking to people, and if you have like a rail card for discount, you'll pay like £80, and if you don't, you're paying like £200, 300.
What?
Literally, man.
Nah,
Definitely,
this is a robbery.
definitely not worth it. So alhamdulillah, I have my car, so I drive to and fro. So I think I would still definitely stick with the car route. I enjoy driving. I love driving. I love the car and everything. So I definitely would stick with that.
My God, my heart is still in shock. Hey, just so you know, guys, when our brother Ibrahim was telling about the rent prices, it's in pounds, okay? So it's more. The pound is more powerful than the euro, so just imagine the price. It's really huge. Brother, I wanted to ask you, what has been your experience? You're working at IBM, it's in the title of this episode. Can you tell us what has been your experience living as a Muslim in IBM? Do you have any particular adjustments, accommodations the company facilitates you with, or no? Can you tell us?
So I think with the IBM, it's an interesting situation because it is a global organization, and they have to be careful in the sense of being diplomatic towards the whole faith area of diversity and inclusion. To be completely honest, I've not had any issues in the sense where, like, I know I can go into my work, I can practice my deen, I can be a Muslim in corporate, and I don't have any issues with that. I don't face any, I can't think of the right word. I'm going to say persecution, but I don't have any of those issues, alhamdulillah, and I know that's such a big blessing. So I haven't had any issues in IBM or anything like that. The one thing I would say is maybe they're a little bit light on the whole diversity and inclusion, specifically around faith initiatives and stuff, which is something I've been working on in the background at IBM. But alhamdulillah, honestly, I can't complain in terms of I can go into work, I can practice my deen. When I need to pray, they're called reflection rooms, which I know we'll talk on a little bit more in a bit. But so yeah, we have our prayer rooms, our reflection rooms. So I know that whenever the time comes and I've got calls, but I need to nip out to pray, I have those facilities available. And alhamdulillah, like in the sites that I work at, they're very good facilities. Obviously, there's always improvements to be made, and that's what we're working on. But alhamdulillah, I have that provision there. And I know for a lot of people, especially for yourself over in France, like, I know it's a completely different scenario. To be honest, I've enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed my time at IBM so far. I've been on it for about a year on placement year, and then a couple of years on the grad scheme, which alhamdulillah I rolled off last month. And now, and just kind of working in IBM, it's been about over 3 years altogether. And alhamdulillah, the amount I've been able to do and learn, it's just been incredible. And it wasn't what I thought I would be able to do at the start. Alhamdulillah, it's gone way beyond what I thought I'd be able to do. But it's like with anything, you get out of something what you put into it. And I think if you, with IBM or with any job, if you put in your time, your effort, and you're dedicated and you're driven, and as Muslims, that's what is in our remit. We're supposed to be at that. If you look at the Sahabas, every single one of them were hard workers. So it's in our deen that we're supposed to work like that. We're supposed to be the best physically, mentally, spiritually. So yeah, alhamdulillah, I can't complain. It's been great so far, man.
I like this guy. Now the UK is in a spot where there is peer pressure. What do I mean by this? It's that if some company, let's not talk about IBM, okay? Let's talk a company called X. This X company, they see the market among consultants and they see Deloitte is doing things, EY is doing things, McKinsey are doing things, etc. For faith. They would tell themselves we're missing out on something here because maybe a consultant, a young person, a talented person, they would tell themselves if they have two job offers, I would rather go one way rather than the other maybe. This is a good pressure because the UK, so much things are going on, especially in London, in those big corporations, that now they have also a pressure because D&I is happening very fast in other companies. So I think it's really good. That spot where, the whole of UK is, I really appreciate because it's good pressure, For instance, in France, we have this pressure, but which is completely reversed. But here it's the opposite one. It's a virtuous circle that can be very beneficial to our community.
100%, bro. I literally agree with everything you just said. I think especially this would be my advice to companies. Think about there's a talent frenzy at the moment. There's so many people in so applying companies and stuff like that. And you want, especially when it comes to early professionals, you want to grab that talent as soon as you can because whether it's now or whether it's in 10 years, they're going to be making you a lot of money. They're going to be pushing the boundaries of what's possible. And I think the focus on that next generation needs to be a lot more key. And I think if you think about how you can attract people, I'll be honest, faith isn't the only thing. There's so many other factors, everything. But if you want to stand out, you need to go that extra mile. And I think if you look at what faith is and what running some of these other companies that are doing a great job, like my client, Lloyds Banking Group, like EY, Deloitte, all these companies, what they're doing is they're putting a spotlight on what's important to their colleagues and their clients. And that in itself isn't a massive thing to do. It's just showing what's important to me, what's important to them, highlighting that, spotlighting that, and educating on that. And that's what it's about. It's all about educating, it's all about allyship. So it's in every company's interest to do that, to become more diverse, to become more inclusive. And to be honest, especially in the UK, they're a lot further ahead than other countries, but there is still a lot of work to do in a sense that a lot of kind of early professionals and middle management are, diverse and are of faith or are of different ethnicities and stuff like that. But you look at senior leadership, majority of the time, you are looking at kind of upper class white men, that kind of thing. So getting more people into it, getting more people into the company at the gates through, let's say, the promotion of some of these initiatives to show that the company actually cares, it's paramount to all these companies. So my hope, inshallah, is that we see more work in the area from corporates.
Inshallah. It made me think when you were talking that at least 3 brothers said the same thing, about the leadership, etc. But soon, inshallah, because we're generation after generation, people are getting out of school, etc. We're going to get to that sweet spot where people get to those senior positions. And it's only going to get better, And this is how I see it. I see it as a trend which is going only upwards because it's going to be even more diverse. And you mentioned other type of diversity like faith. But for instance, we can also mention the fact that there will be a woman at the top of the management. So it's great to see that the more we're going to go on time and the more we're going to see a huge diversity at the senior position. So it's really great. Very optimistic here, but it's really great, I think.
Well, one last super quick point on that. End of the day, and this would be my advice to all early professionals out there, be the change you want to see in the world. If you don't see Muslims in those senior positions, if you don't see Asians or whatever in those senior positions, you be the ones in those positions, Work yourself hard, get to those positions so that when you are in that position of power, you can be the one who can facilitate others, other early professionals, other kids who want to get into corporate. You can be the one, you can open those doors for them. So I go back and think about, for example, like I mentioned earlier, I'm second generation in this country. My parents were born here as well. My grandparents were the ones who came over. And everything that they faced in terms of racism, in terms of prejudice and everything, they went through that so that 2 generations down the line, alhamdulillah, like I said, I haven't had any issues or anything like that. And I think we're later down in that line, whereas we can inshallah work our way up, and then we can do the same for others, and we can make sure that there's more, these faith kind of initiatives. There's more ease in expressing our faith in corporate and stuff like that. And I think that's one of the things we can do. We can work ourselves up to those positions, and inshallah make it easier for those generations to come who are going to come after us, like the ones that came before us did as well.
That was amazing. Once you were talking, I was like, am I even the right person to be the podcast host? Because I believe this person might actually be. I wanted to ask Ibrahim, one thing I got to understand from this podcast is that people really love to hear about the story of everyone, more about their family, the environment they grew up in. Like what, for instance, some brothers have grown up in deprived backgrounds and then they are at a certain position now. It's really great for people to be able to relate to this part of things. Could you tell us a bit more about maybe a bit about your family, where you grew up in Manchester? Did you face any types of challenges in particular? This would be amazing if you could share this with us.
No, of course, man. And thank you for the question. I think, alhamdulillah, like I'll say it straight, like I didn't come from a deprived background or anything like that. Like we weren't
Alhamdulillah, very good.
we weren't like well off or rich or anything, but I think we were just good. We were comfortable. My parents, to be honest, were the big reason for that, because they just worked so hard. Both my parents had jobs. My father is an accountant, and my mum she was a doctor for I think 10, 15 years. Now she's moved more into the charity sector.
Amazing.
But she also has her own business on the side in hair, makeup, and henna, like doing brides on weddings and stuff like that. And I think growing up from a young age, just seeing how much time and effort my parents put into their work, but also into us as well, like the proper juggling act between raising kids and working, I think that's what kind of kept us afloat and really motivated me and my siblings to always want to strive and work harder, because it was the example set to us by our parents. MashaAllah, my parents are, they'll love me saying this and their heads will probably get a bit bigger, but they are amazing people. And I think the upbringing that I had because of them has really shaped the man I am today. And it is also shaping the path that I'm trying to go down, and the initiatives and the ideas that I'm trying to bring into the world to make that world a little bit better than when I arrived, is because of them and is because of everything that they've taught me. But alhamdulillah, like I said, I grew up in Manchester, my parents and my 4 siblings. So I'm the youngest of 4. I don't know if you can tell this, but I do give off the youngest child's vibes. But alhamdulillah, I can't complain. It was very good upbringing. We were all very close. And I think something that I know a lot of Asians who listen to this will probably know, alhamdulillah, I have a very big family. So in Manchester, we've got a very big base, loads of cousins. I think altogether there's probably about I even know, our cousins, maybe 20 of us. And then obviously,
my God.
Honestly, whenever we all get together, it's absolutely
Hey, you Pakistanis need to calm down.
Do you know what? I will agree with you on that one. But no, alhamdulillah, like I said, for me as well, it's very important to me that I have such a good relationship with my siblings, with my parents, with my cousins, my uncles and aunties as well. Because for example, my cousins, we all grew up as brothers and sisters. So whenever, for example, any of them are in Manchester or London or anything like that, I know I have family everywhere, but not just family, very close family, people who I trust implicitly. So yeah, alhamdulillah, I had a very good upbringing. Alhamdulillah, I actually went to a Muslim primary school, which was very good in terms of giving me the foundations of my faith as well.
No way. You went to a Muslim primary school?
Yeah. It was
Wow.
a school called Manchester Muslim Preparatory School. And alhamdulillah, I spent from nursery right the way to 7 years 6 there, so about 10 years of my life in that one building. And it was actually crazy. This quick side story, but I actually went back there recently because they're moving buildings and they did a going away thing.
Oh my God.
And honestly, it was the most surreal experience ever, sitting in the room that I went to nursery in when I was 3, coming back when I was 23. Sorry, not 23, 24. So 21 years later, I was back in the same room and it looked exactly the same. The teachers looked exactly the same. And I just think, honestly, there was a point where I went up, I kind of visited all the classrooms and stuff. And I went and sat in my year 6 classroom, which was the last year that I was there. And I sat in my old seat as well. And I just sat there and I just started I'll be honest with you, bro. I was tearing up a little bit. And I was just thinking, you know what, subhanAllah, the lessons I learned in this place are things that I've carried right the way to the age of 24 in London in corporate. And I just think that, alhamdulillah, I know my parents worked so hard to put four of us in like Muslim primary schools.
Mm,
The lessons I learned there, I will take with me for the rest of my life, and it's something that I will pass on to my kids and grandkids, inshallah, one day.
inshallah.
But I just think, yeah, it was such a surreal experience to go back and to experience it all again, and yeah, alhamdulillah. But it kind of just reminded me, alhamdulillah, like I've come so far to get to where I am today, and I think you can't underestimate every step of your journey, because that for me, that was a whole 10 years of my life. It was such a big period. Then obviously you have high school and college and uni and everything, and I think I appreciate the lessons I learned from each phase of my life. And I think even though I was so young there, like I said, a lot of the stuff that happened there shaped me for the rest of my life. So, like I said, that kind of fed very much into my upbringing, between that and my family and my friends. And I think just generally living in Manchester, there's such a good Muslim community there, being around Muslims, being around Asians. Alhamdulillah, man. Like honestly, I can't complain. I didn't face, obviously there was challenges in working hard and stuff like that. And but alhamdulillah, I didn't actually kind of face any challenges that I know a lot of the other people might have on podcast.
No, that's very good. A few things that we can note in his journey and his family journey. What I thought was really great, it's that his grandparents came from Pakistan and his father already an accountant. Amazing, like it's truly amazing. Secondly, I would love to put your mother's business in the show notes. So please, Ibrahim, you will send me a link afterwards so that I can put it in the show notes. Maybe I can give some strength. And then also a last thing that I wanted to say is that, brother, I can see that you're very well brought up, that the recognition you express towards your parents, it already shows the values they have taught you, because it needs for them to educate you in a certain way for you to feel this recognition. I know that I relate to what you've been saying. For me, I'm so grateful to, for instance, my father. He taught me so much, and I can feel this in you. So I can tell, very well brought up. Good job, Ibrahim's parents. Amazing. Brother, I just wanted to go to the academic journey that you have been through. Can you tell us what studies have you done? And also on the professional side of things, how have you started at IBM? How did you land the job, the challenges you faced, etc.?
No, I appreciate the question, brother. So I'll tell you what, I'll start from the college phase and I'll try and jump straight into IBM. So when I was at college, I hadn't decided what I wanted to do, to be honest. And I was very kind of mixed between like medicine, like standard with a lot of Asians. And I honestly had no idea what I wanted to do. So I picked geography, chemistry, biology, and economics just because they were subjects I was interested in and what I thought I was good at as well. And I think just slowly through my journey, I realized that, okay, medicine may not be the right path for me, but let me just really focus on what I enjoy and try and think, okay, let me use this to find degrees at uni that I do want to apply to, that I would actually see myself doing in the future. And I think for me, biology and science was always a real passion for me. And I just found it very interesting. I think even down to like thinking about like cells and all that stuff, like subhanAllah, the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, especially if you study science, there's just no justification for all this evolution, all this other stuff, because it's just so life and everything down to this smallest atom is so complex and so beautiful, mashallah and barak. And I think that for me gave me an additional appreciation for science and for biology especially. I knew biology was a passion for me. And then I thought, like, realistically, in this day and age, people are going to degrees doing chemistry and biology and stuff like that, and they're not really getting many jobs afterwards. There's not really that prospects for them aren't that great. So I thought, okay, how can I equip myself with more skills, more experiences through my degree? And I was doing a lot of research and stuff. In the end, I found this degree called Biotechnology with Enterprise. So it was essentially the biology side of things, but also had 60, 70%. And then the rest of it was all business focused, economics focused, focused on setting up businesses and running enterprises, that kind of thing. So I thought this really resonates with me, because not only can I apply my passion for biology, but I can also upskill in business and then, maybe increase my prospects through there. So I went through the whole college process, worked very, very hard in my A levels, probably the hardest I've ever worked in my life. Alhamdulillah, I got good grades. I got into uni. In the end, I actually got into University of Leeds. And alhamdulillah, I got in with the biotechnology with enterprise degree.
Sorry to interrupt. You lived in Leeds, yeah?
No, so for this, I actually didn't, because I got the offer for Leeds very late. I actually lived in Manchester and commuted to Leeds.
Oh.
So it was about an hour. So again, it was kind of the hard grind, but about an hour and a half every morning and evening, getting on the train, getting up early, getting on the train, getting into uni, having my day at uni, and then coming back, which was, to be honest, probably the most tiring time of my life. It would be getting up for Fajr or getting up super early, getting on a train, going across to Leeds, doing my day there. And then obviously afterwards, I come with my friends. I wanted to kind of chill out. We usually go out to eat. And then by the time I got on a train and got back home, it was kind of like 9, 10 o'clock. And then it would just be sleep, wake up, do the same thing again. I would be in uni like 4 or 5 days a week. And then on the weekends, I needed to get a part-time job because I didn't really want to kind of rely on my parents or anything like that. And I've always, since I was, I'd say 50, I think in the UK, legally you can work from when you're 15 and 9 months. And the day I got my national insurance card number, on that day I was 15 and 9 months, I started working as a waiter. So I've always had my part-time job. So at the time I was doing 5 days of uni, waking up early and everything. And then on the weekends, I'd be working at Asda. I'd start, my shift was at 5 a.m. So I'd do like a 5 till 1 shift every Saturday and Sunday. So uni time was, especially first and second year, was a bit crazy.
Wow, because you never stopped in real. It's like 7.
No, literally, man, it was 7 days a week. But alhamdulillah, end of the day, it's better to be busy than to be bored. So yeah, got into uni, was working hard on that with biotechnology with enterprise. It came to like my second year of uni, and I thought, okay, there's this option to do a placement year where you leave uni for a year, you work in a company, and you build up skills and experiences, and then you come back for your final year of uni, and then after that, you can go apply for a grad job. So I was looking around. I knew that this is something that I wanted to do, just because I thought, again, if I'm coming out of uni with a 3 year degree with no real business or kind of like company experience, versus if I did the same thing but had an extra year of experiences and skills and was being paid for a year as well, it would make a massive difference to my employability prospects.
You're very strategic.
Alhamdulillah, I just kind of went with the advice at the time and did my research. One thing I'd say to everyone, definitely do your research on it. Small things like, obviously, a lot of your friends and stuff will be moving on and you'll be out of sync for a year and that kind of thing. And you're going away. For me, like I went away from science for a year, came back to it, and obviously I'd forgotten everything like biology related and stuff. So it's definitely a challenge to it. But alhamdulillah, I genuinely think the whole process of it and the whole applying for jobs and stuff like that, like to be honest, and I probably sent off like 40 odd applications throughout those 3 months in second year, first 3 months of second year. And I think I had around 7 interviews and like a few job offers. But to be honest, there was so many that were just like either they wouldn't get back to you or they'd say no and they wouldn't really give you reasons why. And I think,
Where were you applying at that time?
to be honest, every company. So I think I've applied to like all pharma companies, healthcare companies, but then widened it out to like retail companies like P&G.
But in terms of geographical areas?
Oh, sorry, yeah. So to be honest, all over the UK,
Oh,
because I was like, okay, I want to do this for a year. Wherever I need to move out to work hard, I'll do that. My preference has always been London or Manchester because I have family in both. But if I had to go somewhere else, I'll go. Like one of my interviews were in this place called Barnard Castle, like up near Newcastle. And I just remember getting out of the station, getting into a taxi. They didn't have Ubers there, getting into a taxi, driving for like half an hour, and there was like no civilization. It was just trees. And then I'd come, and then there's this massive GSK plant, and then that's like the whole village was built around it. But again, there you can't be fussy.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
you're there to work, so it's one of those things. So yeah, applied for the placement years, was applying all year, didn't really find anything I liked, and then randomly came across IBM. Hadn't ever really thought of kind of tech or anything like that because I was so focused on healthcare and stuff. But then it came up on, I think it was Rate My Placement was the website, and I just thought, I'm not going to lose anything. I might as well do it. Did my Sahara, and then I applied for it, and which is something my parents always taught me this before any decision, any application. First thing I did was get all my application form ready and then sit down, do my istikhara, and then send it off, because that way you know whether you get it or not, you know the right thing happened, and you can have peace with that. Because there was so many times that when I was applying and I wasn't getting, like, there was some that I got really attached to and I was like, oh, this is the one for me, it's perfect, which is exactly what I want to do. Then I won't get it, and it's like, you know what, I was so disheartened. But then after a while I was thinking, you know what, that wasn't the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That might have been what I wanted, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had a better plan for me. Now I can safely say, like 5 years down the line, alhamdulillah for everything that happened, because this was beyond anything that I thought I could have done. So yeah, alhamdulillah, applied for the whole IBM placement year, went through the whole interviews, online assessments, assessment centers, and everything. Alhamdulillah, as of I think it was June 2019, I got the offer, and I literally started in July. So alhamdulillah, like I finished second year uni, went straight into working for IBM, and then I did a year-long placement as a operations analyst. So I was working basically with a team of sales executives, helping them through with whatever they needed for a year. Halfway through that year was COVID as well, so that definitely changed the game into selling and everything. And like it was interesting to see how the sellers had to adapt their approach to, obviously they're trying to sell companies additional stuff to win business for IBM, but these companies are just trying to survive through this global pandemic. So yeah, it was definitely interesting to see. And then alhamdulillah, kind of towards the end of my placement, I knew IBM was somewhere where I wanted to get involved in and stay in long term. So I applied to their grad scheme, but applying back to the healthcare and life sciences area, which I found out in my placement year that they had. Alhamdulillah, I applied for that. And then, yeah, long story short, I got it on my first day back at uni in third year, and then smashed out final year, and then alhamdulillah back at IBM for the grad scheme.
Did I lie when I say this guy is lightning fast in his thoughts? I did not lie. It's very good. I like this. It goes fast, straightforward. Can you tell us how old are you? I want the audience to realize.
So I'm 24 at the moment, bro.
I want people to get inspired. I want people to get inspired, and just you sharing your age, I think it might inspire one people to. I also wanted to say, it's very curious how people in health, I thought, they're very involved in their faith. Let me explain myself. For instance, let me take the most popular example. There is an Islamic scholar. It's called Zakir Naik.
Oh, yeah.
He's an Indian Islamic scholar. Yeah, you know.
Yeah,
So basically, this guy...
man.
Yeah, you know, that's my guy. So basically, he was previously a doctor, and when he makes an Islamic conference, etc., he always refers to the science of things, and it always amazes the audience. But I also thought, growing up, like at uni, you see people which are in the faculty of medicine, and you see so much Muslims like very invested, very engaged. So it's very curious to see that I know what type of psychological link there is between these type of fields, but it's just people in health and sciences are really like they're even more invested in their faith, and I found it was beautiful.
I think, like, especially with doctors and stuff, I've seen it with my mother and like very close friends that I've seen who've gone through medicine. Medicine is not an easy thing to do, and I think the only way you can do that is if you have a real drive and a real passion for helping people. And I think that's where faith comes into it a lot. And I think the other aspect of it, people who go into the science route around research and stuff like that, is just understanding the scope of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's creation. Is mind bending. It's something that you just have, the more you read into it, the more appreciation you have for it, which is why I think a lot of people in healthcare have that strong appreciation for their faith, because they know more detail than other people know about what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's creation is. So yeah, definitely would agree.
That's a perfect transition, because I also want, before moving on, I have a couple of questions already on the corporate side of things. But since we're talking about this, I know that your mom is doing inspiring work. I just wanted for you to tell us more about it, because when I knew, I was hugely inspired by what your mom does. So please, could you tell us a bit what your mom does? Can you share with us some of her work?
Of course. So like I said, my mom spent all of our kind of like childhood and stuff studying for medicine. Alhamdulillah, she graduated way back in 2008. So she basically went away from uni, had us kids and stuff first, 4 kids in the space of, I think it was like 5 years. So like looking after kids was obviously a job in its own. And then she went back to medicine, and she got her degree and everything. And then she started working in medicine, and she worked, alhamdulillah, did her FY1, FY2. So for people who are abroad in the UK anyway, you have to finish your 5 years of uni to do medicine, and then you do like foundation year training, specialist training, and then you can kind of go into the area you want to go into. So it's a long, hard slog, which is why I mean, like, people who are in it to help people. Otherwise, they're definitely not in it for the money, because that doesn't come till way later down the line. She went through the whole medicine process. Alhamdulillah, worked all the way to the GP level. And then when she got there, it was actually just before, like probably about less than a year before she would have fully qualified as a GP. She was sat in one of her kind of like meetings as a GP. And the thing that turned, because she's left medicine now, but the thing that really turned, like the straw that broke the camel's back, as it were, was she was sat in this meeting, and the GP that she was kind of like getting training from was just saying, oh yeah, we can't really recommend this drug, even though it's better for the patient, just because it's going to cost us more. So we'll recommend this one because we'll make more money off it and stuff like that. And she just said, she just sat there and just thought, like, end of the day, this isn't what I got into medicine for. I got in to help people. Like, how is it turning into a business? And that kind of put her off a little bit. But alhamdulillah, she still practices. She still knows all of her medical stuff. And she instead has kind of channeled that knowledge and skills and experience to a different field. So now she's actually left medicine and she's working in the charity sector. So she works for a charity called Action for Humanity. And since I'd say about 2010, it was when she started the volunteering. But I think probably formally from about 2013, she officially moved into the charity sector. She basically goes out to different countries, and whether it's like disaster zones or kind of climate, tsunami, earthquake areas, that kind of thing. And she fundraises. She raises the money for those causes in those areas. And then well, I think she's probably raised definitely over a couple million or something like that over the past 10 years.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Allah. So yeah, so and that's what kind of has got. And I'm sure we'll talk about it later. But that's what got me into the whole charity work sector and everything, and that's why I try and do that on the side as well. But I have to give a massive shout out to my dad here as well, because obviously he was so supportive on her a whole journey on that. Because leaving medicine, a stable, a stable job with a good solid income, to go out and jump into the charity sector, which is sometimes can be seen as a lot less so, is a massive thing. And I know she wouldn't have been able to do that without his support and his help. So I have to give a shout out to both of them. But yeah, like I said, they both have amazing journeys. And with my mom in particular, that story of like understanding what the current situation is and not feeling like it fits in with her values, which is what caused her to go away and do her own thing. And alhamdulillah, she's enjoying it. She's making real change, real difference in the world. And now she's trying to get more women in particular into the charity sector so that there's more kind of diversity inclusion in that space as well.
Absolutely fascinating, brother. I loved every second of what you just said. Amazing. Let's recenter now to Ibrahim, because I see the time is running so fast. I'm like, what? We just begun. we just begun. What's going on? I'm like, is it on accelerate?
It's going to have to be a two-parter,
But I wanted to ask, how did you imagine going into IBM? For instance, you were applying a lot of different companies, but then at one point, IBM, I suppose you moved on in the recruitment process. How did you prepare for the different steps? How was the application process looking like? And maybe some advices that you could give to the youth in terms of stress management? Because I see that the youth, certain times they lose their ability. They get a bit anxious because they tell themselves, all the others have refused me, now I just have this one. Then they lose their capacity. So maybe a bit of advice on how to handle your emotions and how to handle the whole recruitment process.
So this is a very, very good question, but thank you for asking. So I think for me, in terms of just a quick 2-minute summary on how I got to where I got to. So alhamdulillah, I was in my second year of uni, applied for IBM as amongst many other companies, but applied to IBM's placement scheme. Basically, the next steps were you send them your application form. Then you do some online tests if they like you. Then you do an assessment center, which is basically you're with a group of people, all kind of obviously applying and stuff as well. And then if you get through to that, you have like a final interview. And then that's where, it would be the final interview in the area that you'd be working in with the team you'd be working in, that kind of thing. And then alhamdulillah, obviously, I was successful through there and then did my year there. And then when it came to the end of my placement year, I applied back for the grad scheme, but into the area that I wanted to. So it was in consulting. And it was as a consultant, but in the healthcare space. And then alhamdulillah, because I'd already kind of shown my skills and experiences from the year, it was a pretty easy process to get in back as a grad. And then alhamdulillah, first day back at uni, I got the email saying I got in as a graduate. And then ever since then, I've been working. And even now I've rolled off the grad scheme. It's pretty much a seamless transition. All that happens is you change managers. Once you get onto grad scheme, I know it's not the same in all other companies, but with this one, you've got the job if you want to stay on after uni. So for me, that is a very good way in, and I would honestly recommend anyone who is applying or thinking about applying for like a placement year, do the placement year, because honestly, if I hadn't done that one placement year, I would not have been back at IBM now, and I would not have been able to do everything that I've been able to do. So definitely make sure you take time out and apply for that. In terms of the application process itself, like I'll be completely honest with you, bro, at the start of second year, it's such a stress. Sometimes it feels like a whole job in itself, just sending out all these applications to all these different companies and then going for interviews and stuff. If you get to that stage, doing exams and stuff, like it's crazy what some of these companies will make you do. And like I literally went up and down the UK for my placement interviews and did loads of different companies and stuff like that. And exactly like you said before, there was some that I was so disheartened that I didn't get, because I thought, you know what, like I did everything I could. And like, I thought it was perfect for me. I was a perfect fit and stuff. But then you just have to realize end of the day, and I know I alluded to this before, but you don't go off your plan. You go off Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's plan. End of the day, you plan as much as you want. You do everything you can up until the point where you've done 110%. Then the rest you leave with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's no point in getting stressed about it, because like one of the hadiths and stuff that I love is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves a person more. A mother loves her own child. And you think like, you hear about these women like lifting cars and stuff to save their children. Like the love a mother has for a child is like nothing else. And you think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves you more than that. So he's not gonna like turn you away from all these companies that you think that are gonna be great for you, because it without a reason. And the reason is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has something better in store for you. So no matter how many doors close, even if there's 1,000 doors that close, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will save that one door for you. So you just have to, keep up your hope, keep up your faith. At the end of the day, doing your istikhara dua before you send off any application, for me, it just brought that contentment and peace to my heart. And I thought, you know what? I've done everything I can. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is all for you now. You sort this out for me. If it's right for me, let it happen. If it's not right for me, keep it away from me. And that is exactly what this istikhara dua is. So I would say to everyone, just don't stress too much about it, because obviously second year uni is crazy, and even if you're applying as a graduate and stuff like that, the whole application process will get very busy. But just try and keep it on the side, and try and little things like for example, like have a cover letter and use the same one for every company, but just tailor like one paragraph, for example, and tailor it to that kind of thing. So then that way you're not like restarting every time. Like alhamdulillah, I had a spreadsheet where I tracked every placement that I had applied to, when I heard the last updates, that kind of thing.
Very good.
What stage I was at, and I knew, like, I had like a folder and saying, okay, cover letters here, CVs here, application forms here, and I knew that I just needed to tailor it. And even any application form I did, I remember I copied and pasted every response I ever did into a Word document, and that way, if another company asked a similar question, I would just go to my Word document, take it from there, adapt it to the role itself, and use that. Because honestly, that saved me so much time and effort rather than having to, redo everything every time. So that's the other piece of advice I'd give.
Brilliant. I'm so grateful you shared this with the people, and I really appreciate. I think it's a perfect transition. Like, you can see that you break it down, try to track, plan, anticipate, be proactive. You can see those skills. This is the perfect transition towards
Good segment, man. I'll give you that.
towards like the project management skills that you utilize now. So I wanted to ask if there is platforms, resources that you would advise anyone who would want to start learning about project management, and if there is any piece of advice you would be willing to give. I think people underestimate how important is project management, because me, I was more of an analyst. Now I'm a project manager for a data project I have in my company, and I realize why it's a job, why, because it's so difficult. So I really want people to get accustomed to the importance project management is, and how do I get to learn this.
Yeah. No, again, another very good question for that. So I think some people think, okay, project management, I'm going to wait till I'm in, a proper big job, and then I'll kind of pick it up there. But to be honest, I actually think the reason why, alhamdulillah, I feel like I'm a better manager now is because of all the experiences I had growing up, and even like in every kind of stage. I'll give you an example. Like even when I was in primary school, like leading our school assemblies or anything like that. When I go into secondary school, organizing and leading our school jamaats. When I go into uni and even placement year or anything like that, every experience that I've had outside of work that has put me in a position where I've had to lead a team and stuff like that, they are the soft skills that I'm picking up, so that when I've come to IBM, I already have a lot of those skills, and it's just about refining them and honing them and applying them to the corporate sense. So I would definitely say, don't just think it's about your work. Like, for example, one of the projects that I've managed that I've been the most proud of was about a year or two ago. I was fundraising for Yemen because I was going to go to Yemen. And I literally had this random idea. I thought, you know what? I'm a guy. Loads of guys my age love football. I want to raise money. Let me see if I can do anything with that. And literally, long story short, fast forward exactly 1 month from that day, I had a football tournament organized. I was running it there on the day. And this was all through my family and my friends. We
Love
had
this.
75 players, brother, over 12 teams. And alhamdulillah, we had sponsors
Wow.
who'd come in. And bro, honestly, this pitch and everything, the costs were probably around, let's say, $1,000 or something like that for everything, for the pitch, for the footballs, for bibs, for everything. We didn't pay a single penny of that. We had sponsors that came forward, paid off all of our expenses so that we could just focus on raising money for Yemen. And alhamdulillah, like through just managing that and organizing that and the event and everything and running it and fundraising and stuff through that way, alhamdulillah, it was such a successful project. We raised like I think around $2,000 just from that. So like subhanallah, it's one of those things, like take every experience you have in your life as an opportunity where you can manage a project, where you can lead. And as Muslims, we're supposed to be leaders. We're supposed to be at the forefront. So I definitely say just using those kind of experiences. And then beyond that, I think when you come into the working world, especially in corporate, you'll have so many opportunities that you can get the company to pay for you to do. For example, Prince, I know, is the big one for project management. Scrum Mastering, which is more what I'm kind of also doing now, is like agile training and those certifications and stuff you can do. You can do that education and get your company to pay for it. So I'd definitely say getting into corporate has those kind of benefits because you can do that as well. And then beyond that, I'd say like I said, any diversity inclusion initiatives I've done, I've had to set up teams to do that. And having a good team around you honestly makes things so much easier and so much better. And you're able to lead teams and learn from that experience so that you can apply that into your own teams when you are on project.
Very good. Personal branding, I think you are a beast. For instance, I just saw IBM has displayed a video where Ibrahim talks about how he got into IBM and he talks to the youth who wants to join, like the early graduate. So it's really great. I wanted to ask, do you have any advice on how people can market themselves in the early years of their career? Because it's something which is very difficult. You don't have any impactful job experience. You just got out and you have to prove your value. What type of advice would you give to those people who want to market themselves?
No, another really good question, man. You're on fire today. Two things I'd say. The first thing is, and this goes for everyone, it's your story end of the day. Everyone loves stories. And for you to tell your own story, you need to realize what you're trying to sell. Who are you? What is your brand? What are you bringing to the table? Once you've kind of figured out that, once you know, okay, this is me, these are my skills, these are my experiences, this is what I can do, then you can start marketing that to people. So definitely understanding your own story and who you are, and not only what you're doing now, but what you want to do in the next kind of few years. Having that idea in your head anyway, that is the first step. Beyond that, I'd say using tools like LinkedIn and stuff like that, it's really good in terms of just getting yourself out there a little bit. I set up my LinkedIn at the end of my first year of uni. And it was only through that, like, that I built that up over time, that alhamdulillah, like now I've got a good following, alhamdulillah. And it's one of those things that, like, don't be impatient about it. It's something that grows organically, and it's something that you want to happen. And even if you don't see any benefit from it now, you might see some later down the line. Like, for example, there were people that I spoke to on placement year and didn't really kind of, obviously went back to uni for a year and came back, and they only recognized me and knew me and got me onto projects because we were connected on LinkedIn and they saw my posts every once in a while, and they're like, oh, yeah, I remember this guy. So that when I came back and I was like, oh, do you have any projects? They already knew who I was and they knew what kind of work I am capable of doing. And it was because they knew my brand and they knew me. And I think getting yourself out there is the first thing, but also you don't want to like kind of flood social media with like every day, every week of like posts about, oh, this is what I did today, this is what I did today. Really concentrate on your story and telling your story, and don't just speak when you have nothing to say. Essentially, if you go to an event and think, okay, I want to post about this event, what value did I get out of it? What value can I pass on to others? And really concentrate on that. And I think that way, when you're promoting yourself, not only will you have good content, quality content, but it'll be content that people want to listen to, and overall content that people can get value from, which is exactly what you want. It's what you'd want from somebody else. Like, for example, anybody else you'd see on LinkedIn and like you find their profile interesting. That's the kind of thing. If you're getting value from them, think that's what I want to do for my own profile, and that's what I want to do for my own brand.
Having to start a LinkedIn profile at the end of the first year of uni, I think it's really having a long-term vision. It's really good. I wanted to ask my brother, some of the most impactful projects you worked in, could you give us some example? For instance, you work with a very, very prestigious bank for people which are not from the UK, Lloyds Bank, which is a very prestigious bank. Could you tell us maybe some impactful projects you've been working on at IBM so that people can get some, some inspiration?
Of course, bro. So my current client right now is Lloyds Banking Group. I've been there since July last year, so around nearly a year and a half now. I can't go into too much detail into exactly what we do. That's a little bit confidential, but I can give you the overall gist. So we're working on, it's all about customers. So we're working on improving customer experiences on the app. We're working on using the insights that we have on the customers to tailor products and services to be more personalized to them. So again, more personalized banking, more banking tailored towards the customer and their needs. And I think for me, that's every job I've done, whether it's Asda or like waitering or anything like that, it's always been about that customer care, customer focus. And I think the fact that I've been able to do that in my corporate job just made me enjoy it a lot more. One of the projects that I can talk about, and I can even send you the link to this afterwards because I found it the other day. I spent 6 months as a technical business analyst for Genomics Healthcare. So Genomics England is one of our big clients at IBM in the healthcare space. And with this project, we were able to take a patient's DNA sample, map it onto this database and compare it against other patient samples. And with that, we could flag up patients who might potentially have cancer or anything like that. And I think it was really cool to just be involved in a project where end of the day, I could put in my full 110% time, effort, energy as a technical business analyst. And I know way down the line, the output would be a patient could benefit from this and could find out that they have cancer early and stuff like that. And I think that was definitely a really impactful project that we managed to do and something that I'm really proud of my time that I spent on there anyway. Beyond that, I'd say Alhamdulillah, a lot of the time that I've spent in IBM has been in the diversity inclusion space. So Alhamdulillah, we've run across the different teams that I've had, we've run so many different projects and initiatives. I know we'll probably dig into that a little bit as well. But one of the ones that I'd definitely say I'm most proud of is working with an amazing team to try and improve reflection rooms at IBM, so our prayer rooms at IBM. We realized that there was a gap, there was a need, and there was a need for improvement. They were there, we had rooms, but they could be more inclusive. Obviously, IBM being a data-driven organization, we kind of ran focus groups, we did surveys, we got in all this data about what people felt about the reflection rooms, and then also did a lot of secondary research around what other companies are doing in the space, consolidated that into a proposal, and then we proposed that in terms of what we recommended for IBM reflection rooms going forward to UK leadership, to global leadership, and alhamdulillah now, fast forward like around about a year, in London location, for example, we've had a double, triple the size room provisioned. In all the other locations, we're working on kind of getting Durax, Paramouts, all this other stuff, and getting bigger rooms for the sites with bigger Muslim or bigger populations, not just for Muslims, but for Christians, Jews, people who have no faith, people who want to use the reflection rooms, making sure that they're more inclusive for employees. And clients as well. So definitely super proud of that one. Inshallah, there's going to be more to come on that one going forward. But it's been amazing that the research that we did has had an impact on IBM globally, and now they're including that research that we've done into their global guidelines for any reflection rooms that are getting built going forward, inshallah.
That's brilliant. The initiatives are there, they're starting, and it's a great starting point. I salute the efforts of everyone, you colleagues. Brilliant work, guys. I encourage you to go even further. But this is great because, you built a company, Moonrise Productions, which I will put a link in the show notes of the Instagram page, to try to leverage your skills in terms of media production, etc., to try to help our community. I wanted you to tell us more about it. I think it could be very interesting.
Appreciate the question for that. So in my time at IBM, and I think this came from my placement year actually when COVID happened, and I thought, okay, let me try and pick up some new skills. And I started messing around with video editing with DaVinci Resolve and Premiere Pro. And I just loved it. The more I did it, the more I loved it. And I think it kind of slowly built up as more of a passion project. And when I came back as a grad, I noticed that we call them BRGs, the business employee groups. Other companies call them ERGs as well, employee resource groups. But essentially, that you have one for like Asian, Black, like Eagle, like all these other ones in terms of areas of D&I. You have these big groups. I noticed they were doing all this good work, but they weren't really showcasing it. There wasn't really any way people were capturing all that work that they were doing and showcasing it in an engaging way. So I started doing more in terms of the media stuff, filming, editing. In the end, I actually pulled together an amazing team, the D&I media team, and we've been working over the past year plus now to take all the efforts that have been happening across the company and produce these high quality, engaging videos, short kind of 2 to 3 minute videos, highlighting the events, highlighting the initiatives, and really shedding a light and bringing awareness to it. So I was building more of that up as a passion project. And then I just thought that, I'm doing this work. I love it. I brought into the charity work that I do, which I'm sure we'll probably talk about in a bit, filming and stuff where I'm out there in other countries and editing videos on the go and that kind of thing. And I really, really love it. And I just thought, this is a passion project. It's something that I'm already doing. Maybe if I took this outside of work and outside of volunteering stuff and actually set this up as a business, maybe, because alhamdulillah, I think I'm quite good at it now. I could, get some benefit from it. And for me, I just love it because it's all around telling stories. And for me, like, I love telling stories. And I love capturing moments. And I think to be able to capture other people's moments, other people's memories, and present it in something that's engaging, something that's high quality, I think it's something that immortalizes it and gets the message out to more people. So now, alhamdulillah, I've set up my company. It's called Moonrise Productions with an IZ for my name. Fun fact, I told my dad about the name and the branding and stuff. He said that crazy 20, 30 years ago, my family actually used to have a factory and they called it, I think it was like Sunrise
No
Clothing with
way.
an IZ. And I was like, whoa, like 20, 30 years later, that's crazy. And I didn't even know that till afterwards. But alhamdulillah, yeah. So I've set up Moonrise Productions, been taking on jobs, like a couple of jobs every month. Alhamdulillah, it's been very steady over the past few months. And alhamdulillah, yeah, it's just been about me telling stories of people, covering events, covering like launches and stuff, launch events, stuff like that. And I've been really enjoying it between that and like doing it for charities and stuff as well, getting really good charity content on there, telling the stories of like refugees when I was in Jordan or families when I was in Yemen and stuff like that. Yeah, something like I said, passion project that's turned into a business on the side, which alhamdulillah, I'm enjoying so much.
Yeah, I love that you really found your way, because you could have switched to, like you said in the beginning, going as a doctor, a GP, etc. But then I really get that in you, that business acumen. And it's really great that you found your way like at IBM, but also really finding yourself also as trying to launch things. It takes courage to launch something, and you have that. But what inspires you to keep grinding and going forward? Is there something in particular that inspires you?
I'd say there are three things for this one, bro. So first thing, and I know I've mentioned it many times on this podcast, is my parents. Like I said, seeing them strive, seeing them struggle, seeing them work hard has always motivated me to say, okay, if they've done that, then I need to do that as much as I can, if not more than that, so that when it comes to my kids and my grandkids and beyond that, they know that, we worked hard for them, that kind of thing, and we made things easier for them. And end of the day, we left this world even 0.1% better than when we came into it. So seeing them, seeing the work that they've done, seeing the impact that they've had on other people in the community has always motivated me to want to do more and be better. I think beyond that, I'd definitely just say just being a Muslim, man. Like, I think it's understated how blessed we are. The fact that a lot of us were just born Muslims, we were born into this. You see other people, you see people who don't have faith, and you see the struggles that they go through, and the fact that this is it for them. This life is it. There's nothing kind of after this. There's no legacy they need to think about. There's no sadaqah jariyah. There's no, Jannah, Jahannam, nothing like that. There's no consequences. Whereas I feel like as a Muslim, you know that you're not working for this life. You're working for the next. So everything you do is with the intention that you're going to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is it with the intention that you're going to make it better for Muslims and people down the line. So I think definitely being a Muslim and just being someone who has that drive in them for more beyond this life always pushes me to try and do more as much as I can. And honestly, like, it's completely selfish, by the way, all these D&I initiatives, all this stuff. At the end of the day, I want to make stuff for other people, so I get the du'as and all that stuff. And end of the day, it can be sadaqah jariyah for me, and then I can get this reward later. So yeah, I'd definitely say being a Muslim. And then the last thing I'd say is just, this is actually kind of deep thinking about it, but even down to my name, like my name, Ibrahim Ali Zulfiqar, like Ibrahim, Prophet Islam, he was not only was he a prophet, but his whole story was that he was a young boy standing up against the status quo, standing up against the world. And he was the one who, no matter what people were saying, he stood firm in his belief. And when the rest of the world was doing something different and he had no support, he had Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is why he's a Khalil of Allah, he was a friend of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I think for me, knowing that he could do that at such a young age, and I even think about, the Sahaba, Adi Allah, and he was a young boy when he was there with the Prophet ﷺ, and he was the first child to accept Islam. And I think these stories of like these guys and the Prophets and the Sahabas and stuff like that, having all these very young role models inspiring change in the world, has always motivated me to have a real affinity for that, and to, even no matter how young I've been, I've always wanted to make a difference and make a change, whether it's, like I said, in high school, running the Jummah Salahs and organizing that, or like even in primary school or anything like that. I've always wanted to be a leader in that sense and to lead the next generation, because that's what our prophets did. That's what Prophet ﷺ did. And I think having that focus for me has always driven me from a young age to want to do more, to want to be better, to want to be more. And I think, inshallah, what I hope anyway is from the work that I do, like how it's happened from my parents to me, I can inspire people to do the same thing, and inshallah get the Sadqa Jariyah and the legacy from there.
Inshallah, this is what I wish for you, honestly. Also, Ibrahim, I wanted to touch base on like the charity work that you do, because you do a lot of things. You are super engaged in the community. You talked about Yemen earlier. Can you tell us more about little charity project that you participated in? It would be amazing for us maybe to get inspired to be even more engaged.
Well, inshallah, no, I appreciate it, brother. So like I said, this definitely came from my parents. My mother kind of went from medicine into the charity sector, and she started going out to these countries and stuff. And I remember my dad and us start saying like, why are you doing this? Why are you going to Syria and all these other places that are war zones? And she said, you know what? I can't tell you. Let me show you. And when we were, I think I was in year 8 or 9 at the time. So I think I was roughly about 14 maybe. She took me, my siblings, my father and stuff, and we all went to Syria. So we went on a convoy to Syria. This was in the middle of the war as well. So we drove ambulances from the UK
Wow.
right the way to Syria. And then those ambulances were kept there, and they had aid and stuff which the Syrians could use and stuff as well with the families there. So alhamdulillah, that was the first experience where I was like, whoa, okay, this is, because I feel like as a Muslim in the Western world, in the UK, alhamdulillah, we're so, compared to a lot of these other places that I've seen, we're so well off, and we don't. Sometimes we hear about it on the news or on YouTube and stuff like that, and we think, oh yeah, that's happening to some people somewhere away. But I think when I was there at such a young age, and I could see the other kids, for example, I could see the other people, the families that were being affected by all these conflicts. It just made me think that, you know what? We're taught as Muslims that the Muslim Ummah should be like a body. You know, if the hand hurts, then the whole body should hurt. Do you know what I mean? And I think actually having that physical connection to it and to those people, that kind of changed the course of my life, to be honest. And I just thought that I know that helping people is what I want to do thanks to this experience. And honestly, I know it's exactly the same with my siblings. They're all like that as well. And my parents, like I said, my mum goes out every couple months really to these other countries and stuff. And I think since that first trip to Syria, I've been back to Syria once. I've been to Turkey. I've been to Bosnia. I've been to Lebanon, Bangladesh, Yemen. This year I wanted to go Palestine, had a couple of issues there, but inshallah we'll go back this year, inshallah.
Inshallah.
But yeah, alhamdulillah, I kind of go out. I try and make an effort to book some holidays once a year, go out with my mum, and we'll go to some of these kind of areas, fundraise for it, raise some money, and inshallah bring that back to the UK. And I think this is where the video stuff has come in, because I just thought if I'm going to go out there, I'm going to go out there and give it my all. So these trips, they're literally not like holidays, bro. They're like, that we'll be out there, we'll leave at like 7 in the morning, we'll go to refugee camp, delivering aid. And obviously when I'm there, I'm doing all my filming and stuff, and we're out all day, and then we get back like proper like 11, 12 o'clock at night. And then me and my mum, we always have like, it's a proper little funny duo when we're together, because we're there, we're like editing videos and posting at like 1 a.m. and all this stuff, so that people in UK can see where their money's going. And for me, that's literally my favorite part of it. Like, I know someone will invest in me in this journey and say, okay, you know what, Ibrahim, I like you, I like your cause, I know what you're doing, I believe in you, here's some money, deliver that for me. And then I can show them, okay, you gave me £50, this is where your £50 is going, this is the food pack, this is the orphan support, this is anything like that. And I think my favorite part of it is just the run up to the whole trip as well. Like, I'll always do fundraising. I've done like skydiving before. I've done bungee jumping in Italy, which was just crazy. I found some cheap flights, jumped on a flight, jumped off a bridge, which was just insane. But alhamdulillah, it was an incredible experience. Like I said, football tournaments and whatever I can do to raise money. I went on a trek recently this year as well for Palestine. So alhamdulillah, I try and do all the fundraising, get my family, friends, communities involved, people in corporate involved, and then go out to these disaster zones, do the photography, videography, bring that back to the UK so people can see where their donations go. And I try and have that process. Obviously do that throughout the year, but going away, I try and do that kind of like once a year in Ramadan or something like that. So yeah, alhamdulillah, I think that's thanks to my parents. That's what I've been involved in outside of work a lot.
Oh, wow. I love this. I absolutely love this. But a couple of questions, really sorry, but I cannot, guys, the time is running, etc. But I cannot not ask questions.
I love it, man. Go for it.
I think Ibrahim will come, in the 4th or 5th season, because I'm planning to do a certain project with one brother, another brother, or maybe a brother and a sister. We talk about certain themes. So Ibrahim, you will get to know him more also on other episodes, maybe inshallah. One question I had, brother, is there any upcoming projects or initiatives that you're excited about? You would like to share with the audience anything that's coming soon or in mid-range that you're very excited, you have put a lot of energy, you would like to share with us?
Sure, man. So I think the biggest thing that I'm putting kind of time in outside of work for is obviously Moonrise productions and stuff like that. So I'm alhamdulillah taking on more work and responsibility in there and filming, producing, editing and stuff like that. And I think for me, I know inshallah there's much more of that to come now. And honestly, this is something that I would advise I'd give to everyone. Don't lose hope in dua, because honestly, like I set Moonrise up after Ramadan. So this was around probably about 6 months ago. And then I was so busy with work and everything, I just didn't really have time for it. And then probably about maybe a month and a half ago, it was Jummah between Asr and Maghrib. I was making dua and I just thought, Ya Rab, just I want to do more in this area. I want to go get back into Moonrise and start doing more jobs and everything and really build up my passion and build, get an income from it. Within the space of a few days, I started having people messaging me out of the blue. I hadn't done any branding, any marketing. I started getting people messaging me saying, by the way, heard someone passed on your details, said that you do videography. Are you free for this day, this event, this kind of thing? And alhamdulillah, it's just been building up from there. And that's only with the dua of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So never underestimate the power of dua. So I'm definitely looking forward to doing more in that space, in the videography side of things, and really telling more stories on that front. And then also just continuing with my D&I initiatives in the IBM space, inshallah, doing more in the faith side of things, more for allyship, more for education. And inshallah, hopefully bringing some lasting change and impact to my legacy and impacting the future leaders of IBM, inshallah. One advice I would give to any Muslim out there who's getting into corporate is that end of the day, you're going to be so busy. You're going to be working beyond 9 to 5 sometimes, and there's going to be calls and everything, and it's going to be super busy. Don't ever like let your prayers slip and stuff like that, because I've done it before. Like, I'll be completely honest with you. I'm telling myself before I tell everyone else. I've done it before where I've been so busy with work, I forgot about my dhuhr, I forgot about my asr, and I'm praying at the end of the day or something like that. Or sometimes in some cases, I wasn't even praying because I thought in my head, oh, I just don't have time. I've got so much to do. I'll do this later. And it didn't happen. And that's where shaitan works his way in. So one thing I would say is, if you focus, and I know people always say, oh yeah, work on your faith and improve and across the board and stuff like that. But if you want practical steps, I'll tell you 2 things to do. If you do these 2 things, not only will your career flourish, but your life will flourish. Everything will fall into place for you, I promise.
Oh, very good.
These 2 things are, one is focus on your salah. Just your 5 prayers in a day, just get them in on time. Even if it's, you have to take out 5 minutes, jump away from a call, pray your dhuhr, and then go back. Just focus on getting your fard salah in, 5 prayers a day, and making sure that, when you're praying, you have that khushu, you're not thinking about work or anything. You're just focusing on what you're there for. Because at the end of the day, work, corporate, everything, this isn't what we're here for. This is just temporary. What we're here for is to worship and to pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and please Him and to get to Jannah in the next life, inshallah. So focus on your salah. The second thing I would say is try and get your morning and evening adhkar in. That is all it is it'll take you 20 minutes. It's 10 minutes of Quran, 10 minutes of du'as. One of my favorite du'as has to be Ya Hayyu Ya Qayyum bi rahmatika astaghith aslihni sha'ni kullahu wa la takilni ila nafsi tarfat ayn. And all it means is, Ya Rab, like, help me in all my affairs. Don't leave me. But I'll tell you exactly what it means. It says, O ever living, O self-sustaining and supporter of all, by your mercy I seek assistance. Rectify for me all my affairs and don't leave me for myself even for the blink of an eye. And just think about what you're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala there. Like, whatever issues you're facing, whatever struggles you're having with work or outside of work or anything, you're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to just help you through it and to stay with you. And I think reading those du'as every morning and every evening, I promise you, it will take you 20 minutes. It will change your life. It will make you more productive. It will make you appreciate Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala more. It will make you better at your work. Honestly, if you can get your adhkar in every morning, every evening, and if you can get your salahs in, if you just focus on those 2 things, forget about everything else, genuinely you will see improvements across every area of your life. And then with them, you'll be motivated to do more, to want to do more, to get into seerah, to get into reading about the stories of the prophets, like we said. And a really good series just on that super quick is Mufti Meg does a good one, Bilal Asad does a good one. Yasser Qadi is a bit more academic, but he does a very good one as
Omar
well. So,
Suleiman.
Omar Suleiman as well. Yeah, we have so much at our fingertips as Muslims, and I would just say you're gonna get so busy with work, but don't lose your deen. Don't forget about your deen. Especially, I'll be honest with you, I've been in situations in London where someone's asked me, "Oh, you're a Muslim?" I'm like, "Yeah," and they're like, "Oh, are you the type of Muslim that drinks or doesn't drink?" I'm like, I don't really know what to say to that because as a Muslim is, yeah. But anyway,
There's only one type.
exactly. So just stick close to your deen because there's so many times it's said in Hadith where towards the end of time, and we are coming towards the end of time. Holding onto your deen will be like holding. I can't. I have to paraphrase here, but it's going to be like holding like hot coal, that kind of thing. And it's so easy to just leave your deen aside and focus on work and stuff like that. So my advice to everyone would be work hard, work the hardest, work harder than everyone else, be a leader, be the one who inspires the change that they want to see in the world. But don't forget your deen. Your deen, if you do that, work hard plus your deen, that is a powerful combination. Nobody can beat. No Muslim can beat or anything like that. So focus on those things: prayer, adhkar, and working hard. Genuinely, you'll be successful, inshallah.
This was really, really beautiful, brother. And I relate. Certain times I finish work, I try to learn certain technical skills. I invest in myself. And then once it's late in the evening, I pray and I tell myself I invest in my afterlife. So it's a different investment, but way more important in reality. So it's such a beautiful reminder. And by the way, I don't know if you know a British singer, he's called Sami Yusuf.
Yeah.
He has a song, Ya Hayyu Ya Qayyum, very beautiful song also. I advise anyone which would be interested, Sami Yusuf, a beautiful singer, one of my favorites of all time. Really listen to his stuff. Brother, just a last question rapidly. Could you give me a question? This is your idea. Could you give me a question I could ask the next guest, inshallah?
Inshallah. Okay. I think I got a good one. So, what would be your favorite quote that you embody that you've heard, but it has to be from another Muslim? And that can be Muslims across time, but what would be your favorite quote? For me, I'll go first. Mine would be from Muhammad Ali. And he said, "Service to others is the rent you pay for your room here on earth." And I know for me personally, everything I do, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put me here for a reason. He could replace me with anyone else. But if I'm here, then I want to do the best that I can to make life easier for others and for other Muslims. And I think if I'm here, that's the reason why I'm here. So that would be my favorite quote. What's yours?
That's very pretty, brother. This is a brilliant note, and I appreciate that this podcast is bringing continuous improvement thanks to all those consultants. So very good. Way to go, guys. Thank you so much, Ibrahim, my brother. Thank you so much, my brother. Truly, I appreciate you so much, brother. Thank you for sharing your experience, insight, advice with all of us. Appreciate you so much, brother. Thank you so much.
No worries, man. Thank you so much for having me. And hope people find value from it and benefit from it. And keep doing what you're doing. This is amazing stuff. And I think this is what the other guests are talking about is exactly what I would have wanted to hear when I was thinking about going into corporate way back when.
Alone we go far, together we go further. I wish you all the best in Moonrise Productions. I wish you so much. You have the entrepreneurial spirit. You're going to achieve great things, inshallah. Guys, if you want to seek advice, you can reach to Ibrahim on LinkedIn. I will put his LinkedIn profile on the show notes description. He has a very busy schedule, as you can see, but he has very kindly accepted that if you have any type of question, you want to seek out for advice, Ibrahim has accepted to give you some answers. So, brother, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show today. Thank you so much. Jazakallahu khairan. And assalamu alaikum, Ibrahim.
Assalamu rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
That's all for today's episode, guys. We hope you enjoyed it and learned something new. If you have any feedback or suggestion for future episodes, please reach out to us on our social media channels. And don't forget, please, to subscribe, rate, and review our show on your favorite podcast platform. This would really help us a lot. Until next time, well, stay inspired, stay curious, and keep changing the game.